Alrighty. Let's see if this comes through live. I'm just going to check on my other screen after some technical difficulties, and it looks like we are live, so that is fantastic. Good evening to everyone. I know it's a little bit late on a Saturday, but well, as I sort of joked about before, we're into the nervous 90s. And for those of you that don't know, that is a bit of a cricket reference. I might explain that a little bit more in a second, but we'll just give everyone a moment to tune in. And look, Bitcoin's looking pretty beautiful. We're going to talk about that high time frame as well as the lower time frames as well, in case we get another move higher. It'd be nice if it happens while we're on the live stream together. But guys, yeah, give this a like. Get some questions ready. If I can whip through all these slides, I will try and answer your questions at the end. You guys know that I don't like to try and go too long. We'll try and keep this well under an hour. If you're rewatching this later, the team and I try to normally timestamp these things. So look, tomorrow is a Sunday, so we normally give the team Sunday off. That's my day to work hard. But yeah, if you want to rewatch this later and you don't have time to watch the full hour, we normally try and timestamp it. Other than that, you can flick through this, watch it on 1.5 speed. How is the volume, guys? If it's a little bit low, I might play around with these settings. Testing. Yeah, it's a little bit low. Oh, that's not too bad. I'll get that nice and close. I know we've been mucking around with this new mic, guys, and trying to get the balance right between the guests and myself. But tad low, could be higher. Okay, why not? Let's get it good while we're all here together. So advanced properties, mic. Let's boost that up a couple of decibels and close. And how's that? Testing. That should just be a little bit louder, a little bit better. Awesome. Okay, let's get into it. So much to get through. So firstly, I guess thank you for the 160 that are watching on a Saturday night. If you guys smash that like button, that does help share this content and get it out there, because it is getting harder and harder to do with the YouTube algorithms. And we're going to be talking about that as well tonight, in terms of how this all plays into the sort of bullish case for crypto. It seems just like everything is happening for this bullish narrative. The stars are aligning. I'm going to be talking about sort of gold and silver and Bitcoin, because DeFi is all the rage at the moment. And you guys know that when everyone starts to get excited about something and it gets a bit bubbly, it's normally time to start to look to the next thing, and always try and be one step ahead of the herd, which is what we're always trying to do. So I guess to start off with a bit of housekeeping, welcome to 150 new members again this week. We're getting up towards 3,000 in the group. That is fantastic. It's so funny, like I said, about the correlation with price. So if we have a look at the chart, the last few weeks here, we're getting 300 new members a week. Then we go sideways and we have a bit of a down day, and that really sort of dries up. And as soon as we start going higher, new people will come into crypto, and it's just so fickle. I think we spoke about it. I mean, how many times, throughout the history of the channel did we say, when we were in crypto winter, when we were back down here and everyone was saying, it's the end of the world, we're going back to $1,000, and we kept speaking about, getting over this magical 10,000 mark, you'll start to get media coverage and this, that, and the other. And sure enough, that's kind of where we've got to. So I just want to mention this. For those of you that aren't Australian, Chris Judd was a legendary footy player. So some would argue the best player of his decade. So sort of 2000 to 2010. Brownlow medalist, which is the best player in the league, that sort of thing. And I didn't realize that he was right into investing, and he has worked at sort of VC funds, and he's getting right down that rabbit hole, and he has purchased a chunk of Bitcoin and Ethereum and still learning. So I'm not sure if he's getting into any altcoins or whatever, but yeah, that was really exciting. And I think this is just that that trickle effect where it's just getting under the noses of the mainstream. I guess this was a goal and something I wanted to mention because I guess last time around when we had crypto blowing up, I was pretty small as in terms of a channel, and I guess I was a little bit jealous and I wanted to get on these kind of shows. So, nothing against Sam or, the Ozcoin guys or anything like that, but, I would love to get on the project. And I just think sometimes we were presenting bad messages and it's just not clear, and people hear about the scams or the bad things. So one of my goals was really throughout crypto to just build that network and reputation and trust. And hopefully this time around, when Bitcoin goes through 20,000 again, maybe I get to go on the project, or Triple J calls me up or something like that. And that way, it's not really about the, being famous. That stuff doesn't really bother me down here in Tassie. It's more just controlling the message. And sometimes I feel even like this is a great example that we're about to get into. Barstool president, whatever his name is, day trader Dave Portnoy. So obviously he's been just battered all over the world of crypto the past 24 hours. If you don't know who he is, look, I never used to like Dave, and then I sort of came around a bit because he just doesn't take himself too seriously, and he's just kind of taking the piss out of the fact that, well, stocks do only ever go up in this world that the Fed have created. But if you look at this clip, which has now got 700,000 views, we're not going to watch it, but head over to his Twitter, it is pinned there, and I just felt that the Winklevoss twins didn't do a great job of explaining Bitcoin. Before that even kind of outlined the basics for him, they were off talking about Bitcoin being like a scorecard and the miners are referees, and like it was just super confusing. I'd never even heard that analogy. And they started talking about gold and how there might be asteroids and they might mine gold, so that's bad, and just all these things. And Dave thought that they were kind of taking the piss out of him or joking. He's like, what's gold and asteroids got to do? Like, I'm trying to understand Bitcoin. So it's funny that we're still so far along, and when you say to someone, well, what's Bitcoin? Explain it to me. Let alone trying to explain, Ethereum or how all these other coins are different. It's still something that we don't do well. And there might be all these people, millions of Aussies, next time's Bitcoin's on the project, for example. If someone gets on there and does a bad job of explaining it, again, that's the chance that you've lost. And Koshi's on the morning show the next morning telling everyone how Bitcoin's a scam, and, the barefoot investor. I read something again the other day, he's just still telling people to avoid Bitcoin crypto, avoid gold. But it's really funny. He was saying that, the old, it doesn't offer a yield. I'm not interested in anything that doesn't offer a yield. He's got to realize that we're heading into this world of negative real interest rates, or negative interest rates on your savings account. So the argument that gold doesn't offer a yield is one of its biggest pros. That's why it's outperforming the market at the moment. So look, it's these guys that kind of frustrate me. I don't know if they're deliberately just playing dumb or whatever it is, but so Yahoo Finance now covering Dave Portnoy. I really think that this can't be understated. He single-handedly dragged millions of traders into Robinhood, these day traders that are just buying Hertz, whether it's bankrupt or Tesla, and they're just buying names, the names that they know. It's no coincidence that Amazon and Apple, Google, these things are all pumping, because it's these millions of retail investors. That's kind of all they know. So they get in there and they buy. So look, Dave jumped in with the Winklevoss twins live in that video. He bought, he had $250,000, and I was a bit surprised when he said, should I go half and half into Link? Obviously, the Link Marines love that, but even so, is that what you'd want someone to do for their first crypto experience? Link, Link may well continue to pump higher, but for someone that's buying their first crypto, do you really want them to buy a chart that looks like that? And then I just think not only the risk to reward in terms of the price, but if Dave buys this he ended up buying 50 grand and 200 grand of Bitcoin. If his 50 grand has this 60% retracement or something like that, he's going to be out there shouting at all his fans about how he bought this altcoin, this crypto, and it lost half its value in a week or something. That is not what we want. I would have said to him, just buy Bitcoin and let's go from there. Particularly as I tie this all together, obviously alts and Ethereum, everything's been outperforming Bitcoin, and that's probably the one that's, it's still just sitting here. It's got a long way to go. I think it could be about to play a bit of catch up. We'll get to that in a second. But I really would hate that we finally get Dave and his millions of followers and he has a bad experience first up. So who knows? Maybe Link is just going to absolutely keep pumping and he's happy. But that's just something that I was a bit surprised that the Winklevoss twins didn't even talk about the risk to reward and the percentages of altcoins. And would you encourage someone to dump 50 grand into an alt that's been going parabolic? I probably wouldn't. But anyway, let's move on. Let's continue. So the other big news this week was that Apple booted Fortnite, one of the most popular games in the world. I'm not sure if it's still number one, but at one stage this had like 300 million active users. Kids are spending a fortune on all the gear in this. Even some of my mates in their 30s and older are loving this game, Fortnite. So a few hours after that, Google followed Apple and booted Fortnite off the Google Play Store. So to me, this really shows you, and I did a bit more of a write-up for members, about how big these companies are. And they've got a multi-trillion-dollar market cap now they're heading towards, and they've got hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank. Not only that, but at the moment, they're borrowing billions of dollars. They're like the only companies in the world that don't need money. But the Fed's got money so cheap that they're better off to borrow at 0%, and buy back their shares so they don't have to pay a 2% dividend. They come out in front, or buy back their stock because their stock's going to go up more than 0% that they borrowed that money for. So it's just this game where money, the cost of money for them is free. Why wouldn't you keep buying it back? And that's why the stock market's going up. The Fed don't really mind. They'd probably rather that than stocks crashing. Other central banks are printing money out of thin air just to buy these stocks. So this is just all the big game that we're playing at the moment. And I really just wanted to highlight how unimportant to them even one of the biggest companies in the world is. They just don't even care. So it's a similar, I guess, narrative around the banks. And the banks can borrow free money to speculate, whatever it is, whatever they buy. They can buy bonds at the moment and sell them back to the Fed a few days later and make a profit. Like, this is just a nuts game where they can't lose. Why would they risk lending you or me money, particularly a small business that they can't do due diligence on? Maybe if you go to them and want to start a franchise, a McDonald's, a Subway, something that they're really familiar with, and they know that that's going to go okay. But if you go to them and say, I've got this new business or an innovative startup, to them, it's too risky. We're heading into a recession, depression. And ultimately, this is all sort of protecting them short term, but long term, it's just the economy is getting smaller and smaller. The number of good jobs and high-paying jobs is just shrinking, and that's a real worry. And you don't hear the Fed really talk about that. That's not really in their textbooks. That's not their two levers of print money and drop interest rates. These guys are all book smart. None of them are street smart or really business savvy. These are just the things that they don't see. So again, let me know what you think about all that. Am I off the mark? Do you agree? Have you seen this firsthand? But yeah, this just all plays into decentralized gaming and decentralized, the Web 3.0, whether it's Ethereum or EOS, Cardano in future, VeChain, whatever it is. You can't just have your dApp be number one in the world and then be delisted from all your customers and users the next day. So people are kind of realizing this narrative. And again, when you get to explain to someone, well, what is Ethereum? Sometimes the easiest way is to give them an example like this, where you say, well, Web3 means that YouTube can't take down all my videos, my lifetime of work. Twitter can't take down my account. Facebook can't get rid of my group. And the App Store can't get rid of my game and all my users. So that's kind of where this is all heading. And it's so funny, isn't it? That it's almost perfectly timed the way that all this is playing out into the hands of crypto, that bullish thesis. So look, if you haven't been a subscriber for over a year, we've probably, the reason for the celebration tonight is I think we're probably only at about 40,000 subscribers a year ago. You can go to a website called Social Blade, and you can see the subscriber growth and the video watch count. And that website's actually also good for calling out, the fakes and the people that have bought subscribers. You can see the day when they, their subscriber count jumps, and YouTube do these flush outs every so often. So you'll see them, YouTube will take away the 10,000 subscribers that they just bought, and the same with video views and whatnot. So look, Social Blade is the name of that website. You can see Twitter, YouTube, all different social medias who's sort of buying fake subs and whatnot. But anyway, I am really grateful, and all 90,000 of you guys are real. But over a year ago, we did this gaming week. So best projects in gaming, in crypto that I sort of thought at the time. Wax has been going really well. They've had some big partnerships more recently, just in recent months with, I think it was Disney. And they've got all those Wax skins, op skins, and no, there's been an on-off relationship there, but they've certainly got their foot in the door. You guys know how much I love Engine. We did a more recent interview with them. PlayKey is a really little Russian-based gaming project. Now, I've been following this one closely for 4 years, and cloud gaming is now something that like Google and Nvidia and all the big boys are breaking into. So this, again, it becomes, well, it's hard for them to compete against Google, obviously, but the whole point of what we want decentralized gaming to be is to have a good server that is near you, but it's that unstoppable nature and the ability for someone with a good machine at home to start to earn money rather than Google to make the money. And that's where we really want to try and decentralize everything, I guess. So look, I still think that's a really cool idea. You can head over and play the best games on an old laptop. So you're basically using the cloud as the processing and your computer's just the screen. So if you haven't watched that interview, and head over to the PlayKey website, it's just a really cool concept. Red Fox Labs, Benny and the guys in Southeast Asia, they've actually got some cogs. They're sort of getting into that gaming and swapping and collectibles, the same as God's Unchained. So a little Aussie project that's just been killing it. Some of these cards are worth $10,000 or more each. Other ones, Funfair. People still ask me about this. Yes, it's been going horribly, but I still like it because of the team that's behind it. And you guys have seen how the good projects have gone full circle. It doesn't really matter about the token price. You got to forget about that. It's whether or not the team and the tech have got a working product. So Decentraland is the one that I'm just like crazy bullish on after doing this interview a few weeks ago. This is the more recent interview with Engine where they're talking about that partnership and the road to 100 million users. Any other updates on the gaming projects there? I think I've done a few others, but I'll let you guys sift through those at your own pace. It's great to see Decentraland getting that recognition it deserves. So this is one that we were dollar cost averaging in the group, along with basically all these projects have boomed. Aragon, Decentraland, Emanate. I haven't followed that one closely. The music project, the Aussie guys. Loopring, killing it. Orchard, that one has been killing it this week. And obviously Aave and Lend has done 100x in the past 6 months. So very happy there. And another one jumping. So that is, I guess, the decentralized gaming bullish thesis I just wanted to share. Next thing to get into quickly is the fact that BitMEX is adding KYC. And I think this is a broader narrative and theme that all these exchanges are going to have to try and apply to the travel rule to some degree or another. What is it? These FATF rules, or however you pronounce it. So for those that aren't aware, you're going to have to start doing KYC on BitMEX. You've got until February next year to do it. So you've got 6 months up your sleeve. But I think that is going to cost them a fair chunk of customers. And I'm not saying people are doing anything dodgy necessarily, but some people just love being able to go there and gamble privately, or some people don't want their identity attached to crypto, or it's risky for them, this, that, or the other. So look, that's that. I kind of think that people were already leaving BitMEX. We've seen their volumes drop a little bit. But FTX, there's other exchanges out there. You don't have to KYC on FTX to use the exchange. It just sort of like Binance, that it limits the amount you can withdraw each day and whatever. But I think this is one of the reasons why you saw Binance go into the DEX space really early. Look, they've basically failed. Binance DEX, I would say, has failed compared to everything else. I think that's one of the reasons why FTX are also keen to try to go into that space, because they know there's going to be a big demand for decentralized trading and anonymous trading, as well as the different services. And they've got a different suite of offerings, don't they, compared to just Binance, which were almost doing the same thing but on a DEX, and that's why it just wasn't a good product market fit. So this was a huge success. It is absolutely crazy, how well that went, and an IEO that listed at like 20-fold returns for those of you that got in at 8 cents or 11 cents. It really is nuts, and a lot of these projects are really tinkering with their token models, whether it's DeFi or these IEOs, really putting in incentives to lock up tokens for years and years, or to lock them up in nodes and staking. And so that leaves very few tokens available for people to actually buy, and that's why we see these big run-ups in price there. So DEXes have been on fire. You guys have probably seen these stats about how some of these DEXes are now doing more volume than the big exchanges like Kraken and Coinbase, and Uniswap's got a huge chunk there. What I wanted to mention here was a few things. So last year we kind of had issues with DEXes. It kind of hits this critical mass where once more people are there, then liquidity begets liquidity. But you also need accurate pricing. That's where Link has just been on fire this year. So like I said here, I always loved oracles, and we knew they were necessary about how do we get information from this world to this world, or accurate information from trusted sources and verified all on chain. And basically everyone has chosen Chainlink. Now there's these others coming through. You guys have seen all these other second tier ones, and people are kind of saying, well, hey, if Chainlink's worth this, maybe Band is worth this, or maybe this other one's worth this. So look, I think that gets really speculative once you start to go down to that path. But look, well done to the Link guys. There's been a few guys in our group that did get that very early, and that's also done 100x now in 18 months or so. So it's awesome that people are getting these returns. Numeraire is another one. The source of data, the Bloomberg. What I wanted to mention here with crypto is, where do you go when someone says, well, with the stock market, I just go to Reuters or Bloomberg Terminal and get all my information and the data and the earnings, and I can trade there as well. This is a project that's kind of trying to get into that space, and I just love that. Those problems aren't solved yet. Like, hopefully this is where we can take Nuggets News with what we want to do. It's so awesome to watch all these pieces of the puzzle which are just not there. And these big investors, they're not going to come into crypto until they can go to Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal and go and look at, well, what does this coin do? What is Cardano? What's the news about it? All that stuff they're just not used to. They don't want to have to go to an exchange and give their passport and take a cheesy photo. And they're getting further and further behind, but that's just it's just an opportunity for us to get in early, as well as these exchanges. So even some people that have invested in Bitcoin or Ethereum, these wealthy investors that have to go through Grayscale, or even if they have signed up to Coinbase, some of these DeFi projects are only on Uniswap. And now you do have to be careful because there's lots of scams and anyone can list any coin. So just quickly, I might mention this. I do want to do more work with CoinGecko, because I really think CoinGecko are becoming a trusted source, maybe even more so than Binance. So if you are looking for a coin and you want to trade it on a DEX and it's not listed there, so what was one that I've been looking at recently? Let's see if there's wrapped Nexus Mutual. Okay, so this is a good example. So if we want to buy some Nexus Mutual, we can't do that at the moment. So Nexus Mutual is that insurance project that I like. It's actually a security token, so you can only buy it on their platform, but they've created a wrapped version of that, an ERC20 format version. So what I can do is come over here. Now, if I type Nexus Mutual, it's going to bring it up and tell me the token. Oh, let's click on it again, sorry. It's going to tell me all the details, the market cap and whatnot. And here it says, for wrapped Nexus Mutual, these tokens are freely tradable outside of the Nexus Mutual platform. So that's what I was talking about. Nexus Mutual tokens are you can only buy them and store them in the address that you do KYC with, because they're a security token. So wrapped Nexus Mutual now creates like a wrapped Bitcoin where it's free to move around on the Ethereum network. So what we can do is click on Etherscan, and it's going to show us the contract. So all we have to do is copy the contract address, head back over to Uniswap. Let's click on select the token, and it says search name or paste the address. So all you want to do is just paste the token address, and it's going to say wrapped Nexus Mutual, and you can add that there, and it's going to have it there for you from now on. Now it says, hey, this is super risky. You've imported something. It could be fake. So, you want to definitely double check what you're doing there. And I think I've got a few bucks of ETH in there at the moment. And, that's all you have to do. Then swap it over. So MetaMask, you can play around with that. You can connect your ledger, but I'm going to do a huge super tutorial on every DeFi app and every DEX and timestamp it all, so you guys know how to use all this stuff. Oliver, Francis Hunt mentioned, so Francis and I have recorded our collab. It'll be up any day now. Okay, so let's get in and let's have a talk about one of the downfalls at the moment. Was the other day that fees got up to like $30 to do some of these swaps. So something in particular like 1inch. So 1inch, if you don't know, it looks at all the different DEXes, and you can tell it what you want to buy. So, I want to buy $1,000 worth of mana, and it is going to have a look for you. That's what the fire means, that it's looking for you there. It doesn't want me to connect my wallet. No, it's brought it up. Okay. So it is going to tell you the different DEXes. 90% is coming from Kyber at the moment. There's going to be a fair bit of slippage there at the moment because I'm trying to buy $10,000 worth on a DEX in one go. That's probably a little bit greedy. Okay, so we've got it there. A little bit of slippage. 2% is not too bad on an altcoin when I'm buying that many of them. And you can also use their gas token. So Chi is their gas token, which you can buy ahead of time. So at the moment, let's have a look. So this is gas prices. Gas prices were around, this is 55 days ago. They almost got back down to zero if you only needed a transaction to be confirmed within a couple of hours. But sitting around 20 to 40 Gwei, which is how we measure the units of Ethereum that we pay for a transaction fee. Now, the other day it got up to 300 Gwei at one stage. You can't quite see it there. But basically super, super expensive compared to historical norms because so many people are using this at the moment. And when we got up to 300 Gwei, divided by 10, just really roughly, it was around $30 to send a transaction. Because when we go from A to B, it might have to go from DAI to USDC or to Ethereum first, and then it's trying to find this coin from another pair on another DEX. So it can be 3 or 4 transactions, and that's why these things can cost a lot, as well as the more complicated the smart contract, the more it costs. The most basic thing you can do is send Ethereum to Ethereum address, and then it goes, an ERC20 token is a bit more. Then you've got, a bigger smart contract is going to cost a lot more to execute. So what you can do at the moment is buy these Chi gas tokens, and fees have come back down now. You might want to stock up on some of these, or Dharma. So the Dharma app, it's only on mobile at the moment, but they're paying gas fees for you for all Uniswap transactions. Again, I'm trying to do some work with these guys. Free plug there if you guys like the free plug. I'm comfortable working with these really good projects if they want to sponsor our market update and stuff like that. But free to use, guys. Check it out. DerivaDex is another trading platform that's coming. So once again, talking about FTX, BitMEX, all this volume, I just see it going to Synthetics, DerivaDex, DYDX. We're running out of names here. Better than all the exchanges having coin or bit in the name like back in the day. But they've all got DEX in the name, it seems, these days. This is where all the volume has been going. And it's nuts to think that one of my predictions at the start of the year was the rise of DEXes, and that seemed really crazy to say, well, DEXes will be doing more volume than Kraken and Coinbase. But, here we are. Fantastic comments that are still coming in, and thank you to everyone that smashed the like button. 400 watching. Let's see if we can get to 200 likes. But I'm going to keep powering on. So this is why I think that the best projects have been the leaders, because if you think about it, Synthetics and Aave have become the biggest lender. They're now doing securitized loans in terms of I can secure the credit for you. I can say, oh, I know Matt, he works for me, he's trustworthy. I will front the collateral for his loan if he doesn't pay it back, and we can build reputation and trust scores. So it's no wonder that these things are up 100x, because everyone thought that these coins were dead, in crypto winter. So look, everyone was calling me a shill back then, but look, I kept talking about the projects that I believe in, and I hope you guys kept reading our research and believing in it as well. I mean, it was hard not to be excited about it, even in crypto winter, when you understood what these projects were trying to do. And look, we've added another full-time member to the team this week. Matt's been incredible. He's just helped me so much. Most of you guys know Ben now as well, so he's like the managing director. These guys have just freed up so much of my time from having to do wages, manage and admin 1,000 members in a group. All this stuff was chaos, and now I've just got so much time to spend reading and researching, listening to the best podcasts, and I'm really proud of the research we've produced, because some of the people like Delphi Digital and the other leaders in the space, they're covering the same projects that we're covering, often after us, and that really, I think, shows that we are at the bleeding edge. And I guess I'm just really proud of the team, and who would have thought that little Tassie YouTube channel and these just great people. Matt was a quiet guy in the group. Ben was just helping me out. It's just nuts to think that we've got 17 people on the books at Nuggets News, and this is where it's all heading. So I really do hope one of my goals is that we get to 100,000 by the end of this year. Let's see where that all goes. Now, DeFi yield farming, it's become completely overwhelming, and within 24 hours it's yams, and then it's the next thing. And I'd say to the beginners, try to understand it all, but don't feel like you're missing out. This stuff is so risky. We saw yams the other day. I posted about it saying that I actually think this is really interesting, and what they're trying to do, the concept is really good. And yams version 2, you guys can just see that behind me here. So yams version 2 has already got a grant from the community, because it was such a good project, and they had a bug and everything kind of went to shit yesterday. But that's going to get back up and running somehow. And all the people that had deposited money to that contract, they didn't lose it. You got your coins back. It was just the yams that most people had earned those. Very few people had sort of bought those and speculated. Hopefully not too many. So these are the things. I mean, I was saying every week of the past few weeks that we're so overdue for a bug or a hack, or everything's going too well, and it's exactly sort of what's happened. But even that, it's going to get back on track, and these yields are high. It feels like you're missing out every day, and an hour. We used to have that saying, a day in crypto is like a week in the real world, and it almost is, because it trades 24/7 versus stocks that trade 6 hours a day. But then it's a whole nother level once you start trying to keep up with DeFi and what is going on. And when you compare that to the bond market, where things move maybe 1% or 2% a year, it is just an insane amount of difference and stress as well. I just want to show you this. So this is Curve, these old school interfaces. It's kind of funny that we're at this like bleeding edge technology, and then we've got these 90s sort of Windows just basic interfaces here, but it's all very easy to use once you know what you are doing here, guys. So as long as you've got your MetaMask set up and you understand how to use that, you can swap from one coin to another, deposit your coins, start to earn some yield. That's all there. Very, very easy to do. Contribute to the pool. A lot of the time they're paying you these tokens as well. So Synthetics, for example, they're giving you a token as a reward for being a liquidity provider. then you might want to head back over to Synthetics and deposit it into their exchange to get more rewards, and maybe they're giving away more Synthetics, and then you go and park that over in a Uniswap pool and contribute some liquidity to that to get some bonuses. This is where all these different layers start to add up on each other, and that's where these big numbers are coming from. Okay, so I just want to whip through the rest of this pretty quickly. You know, it's so funny that everyone was talking about how ETH was dead, and we were down here, and you guys know in the group, this was a sort of a trade idea that I shared in terms of this risk to reward, that I just thought that as long as we hold this sort of fib area here, I just felt like ETH was going to explode. People were saying, oh, you know, DeFi doesn't mean that ETH's going to go up. ETH can't scale, this, that, and the other. And it's just absolutely rocketed in terms of the ETH to Bitcoin ratio. So look, someone kind of said the other day that, well, ETH hasn't scaled. There's better tech. I'm going to kind of address a little bit of that now. So one of the things that I think's caused a lot of friction is the fact that ETH's getting a lot of attention and Bitcoin has been a little bit range bound. Personally, I think that Bitcoin is about to assert its dominance and have a really big run again. But I just feel that Bitcoin's been a bit slow. You know, we were talking about these things 2 years ago. We're talking about SegWit 3 years ago, and it still hasn't got full adoption. Lightning Network was growing really quickly, a year, 2 years ago, and now it's slowed down and even shrunk in terms of the number of nodes. And I wouldn't say it's got easier to use in terms of the apps and that. Really, we just haven't quite got that consumer adoption. So look, Bitcoin doesn't have to do all that to be very, very successful. I want to make that clear, but I just feel if it added all these features, there's so much room for improvement, and just to give it more value as well as those scarcity arguments. But I've shown this a couple of times now. This is just the chart of once we get to Ethereum 2.0, you can stake your coins. A lot of people are going to lock them up. We're also going to have this proposal where all those fees, and we're doing millions of dollars a day in fees at the moment. Once they're all burnt, Ethereum's stock to flow is going to be very, very high, right up there with gold, possibly even higher. This doesn't take that into account, the numbers that I crunched. And this gives ETH if you go along this extrapolated line, as long as Bitcoin has, and make the same arguments that they do about Bitcoin, ETH should be at $1 trillion market cap once this all happens in a couple of years' time, or 24 months from now, which obviously is a lot higher. It's another 20x from where it is now, which would make it $8,000 a coin. So look, I think that's maybe a little bit ambitious, but let's see what happens. Look, Yam's fall from grace, I already spoke about that. It was fantastic to sit down with Vitalik the other day and pick his brain about absolutely everything that I've ever wanted to. It was meant to be a 20-minute chat for that documentary I'm filming with the Real Vision guys. So for those that don't know, it's a 3-part series. We wanted to do past, present, future of Ethereum, and just really, like I spoke about at the start, lay it out clearly. What is Ethereum? Raul and Ash spoke about Ethereum 2 this morning on Real Vision, and even they were kind of a bit confused, and they find it hard to explain to people and whatever. So I really hope that we can finally get people to understand this clearly, get their heads around it. And it's going to be fantastic for just general awareness. But Vitalik, just chatting about scaling and everything, he's very, very confident in Ethereum, which he wasn't a year or two ago. There was a lot of doubt about can Ethereum scale and all those different things. So one thing that he said, which I'm not sure if he's read something that I haven't, or I took him out of context, but he basically said that he believes that all Tether is going to move over to OMG Go, to the Plasma network soon. And you will remember that I covered this news announcement where OMG Go had partnered up with Bitfinex the day that they launched Plasma. So if Bitfinex roll that out, and all these other exchanges maybe do as well as a bit of a surprise announcement, you've just got that sort of network effect that once they all do it, then they'll all start using it, and they won't have to use Tron or these other networks that have Tether as well. That'll free up Ethereum, and a lot of the congestion is either scams or Tether, so that's good news. The other one that got attention finally just this week was Raiden. If you head over to their blog, they in the Reddit scaling bake-off, they showed that they did 100,000 transactions per second, and then their technology basically keeps scaling the more nodes you add, and then it's very capable of doing 250,000 transactions per second, and it's more flexible than just the Lightning Network in terms of what it can do. Look, I think the team, whether it's Raiden or Amisa Go or Synthetics and Aave early in the year, Kyber a few months ago, these teams are very aware that they can redo their tokenomics, give these coins more value. There's new things that weren't even available to do, offering these yields and trying to farm and get people all excited about your coin. So that's kind of what's led to this alt season, and it's led to these phenomenal rises. And hopefully we've helped you guys get in front of the majority of all these. On top of all that, the interview we did with Dave, absolutely awesome interview about all of this. But it's just the fact that all these narratives are coming together. So whether it's DeFi and the banking system and finance is, crumbling, whether it's, censorship resistance in gaming or finance, whether it's insurance, computing, we're trying to get away from the tech giants to build Web3. We've now got proof of stake, which is really green and good for renewables, and everyone's talking about energy and climate change as well. I know some of you love that, some of you hate that. All these narratives are just coming together, and it's hard to make like a bearish case for Bitcoin or ETH or some of these other assets. Like everything is going in their favor. And that's why you hear Raul talk about, he's just so bullish. Like he couldn't be more bullish on crypto. It's just so cool to hear people talk like that. These are just basically a summary or an outline of the different scaling techniques. So Raiden has these state channels. We've got some different side chains. That's kind of what Bitcoin has. Rootstock, they've also got state channels in terms of the Lightning Network. The Liquid Network is also a side chain. Amisa Go, Plasma, optimistic roll-ups. So this is the big one that's hopefully a few months away from really scaling Ethereum in a lot of ways. So ZK rollup is a basic way to do like payment transactions. So ETH to ETH payments, ERC20 payments. So Loopring Pay use this technology, and they've added some ERC20 tokens. But this is the big one where you're actually scaling the entire smart contract, not just the payment. And if we can do that, that's huge. We've already got Baseline and what's the other one? Nightfall. So the guys over at Ernst & Young and the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, they're trying to onboard these big corporates to use these types of technologies so that they can use all their business software and be confident that it's all private. Enigma, they were working on private smart contracts as a layer on top of Ethereum. They're now doing a little bit more of their own thing on their own network, but they're still talking about DeFi and interoperability and secret tokens, working with Cosmos. So look, that's where I just think there's a lot of interoperability. People are excited about Polkadot, Cosmos, a lot of the DeFi projects there. There's so many bullish narratives at the moment, isn't there? So finally, I just want to tie this all together. That space has been red hot. And look, I hate to tell anyone to buy these charts that look like this, that have gone up 100x. But even the other day, we had these announcements that some of the big crypto funds were investing heavily in Synthetics and Aave. And they're aware of this. They don't buy charts like this for no reason because they're FOMOing in. They think that it's good value and it's got a long term, a lot left to go. So they're the sort of things that you look at and just get really positive and happy. Now, there's probably going to be corrections along the way. I think a lot of these other coins are probably going to correct. A lot of these copycat coins, it's a little bit like the ICO boom, isn't it? Oh, it's a good idea. But at the end of the day, if they haven't executed, there's no one using the token. Once gravity pulls back and people start to take profits, they don't have a lot to fall back on. So it wouldn't surprise me if we have some corrections across DeFi. Hopefully the good projects pull back less than the rest. But I think we are going to see money rotate over into Bitcoin again. This is just the sheer numbers of people like, the MicroStrategy guys pouring in $250 million. Grayscale, the amount of Bitcoin that they're buying just for that trust versus the amount of Bitcoin mined. And this is what we were speaking about after the halving makes a big difference, and I think we're starting to see that reflected in price. But the big thing here is just the numbers that we're talking about, the relationship. So this is a log chart. So this is 200 billion market cap of Bitcoin compared to the M2 money supply, which is 18.2 trillion. So it's, take that off log and you can just see how insignificant Bitcoin is. So Bitcoin is this tiny little yellow dot, barely anything there compared to the amount of money that they are printing. So it is insane when you think about it like this. Money doesn't die and go to money heaven. It is rotating from bonds to stocks to different currencies. And a lot of this green can very easily rotate into this yellow through all these on-ramps. So let's just bring it back on the log scale there. All right, so that's a bit easier to sort of see and visualize. But what I want you to think about this as is this yellow line here just represents all those on-ramps that we didn't really have back in 2017. Binance wasn't in 20 or 30 different countries. PayPal's and Venmo's on the corner stores in Africa weren't accepting crypto as well as fiat payments. We didn't have a dozen mobile apps. We didn't have buy at all these different over-the-counter places with cash, different countries, peer-to-peer, local Bitcoins volumes going up. This green can just soak into this yellow and push that market cap up. And it only takes the tiniest little percentage. So we're currently sitting at around 1%. That's what the black line is down the bottom. Each 1% is $200 billion. And there's basically 100 more of those if we want. If people start to view that as a better store of value. And that's just the US fiat currency M2 money supply. So look, gold has done a great job of capturing that. I've shown this chart once before. Back here, we reached a over 1-to-1 ratio. So this got up to 116%. Gold's market cap was more than the M2 supply way back here when it peaked in 2011. And it's starting to creep up again. So very exciting times in terms of all that money going to the hard assets that we've been speaking about forever. These were the scenarios that I outlined a few weeks ago now. And I think that tweet I shared at the time, I showed you guys that a lot of people were bearish here and they were expecting either the red or the orange. And I said, I think the green or the blue are far more likely. And everyone was waiting for this pullback and bearish. And that's when it feels uncomfortable to be bullish. But you've got to do it. You don't always get that last dip. And that was the dip. We flushed down to 3,500 and people are waiting for another dip and an easy time to buy. When we got here, I spoke about how this looked like a flag. And again, a lot of people still you couldn't really convince them. It's funny, isn't it, that people were just been through all of crypto winter. And some people I know, sold their coins at 4,000, 5,000 and they're waiting to buy back at 2,000. It is crazy. That's why you should always hodl the majority of your stack and never do anything in absolutes. Whether it's profit taking or buying in, you should do it in little chunks at a time and get average prices here and there. I think that's just about all I want to mention today. FTX. Well, look, I will mention this in terms of governments and where they're at. So the one thing that can bring this all down is the stock market having another huge sell-off. That could, I think, drag everything down, even though Bitcoin has done fairly well to break that correlation a little bit. But this is the huge slack that's been picked up by governments. And when you see it like this, it is really nuts. Wages and salaries paid, and it's the government that's picking all this up, and they're still talking like they're going to be able to get rid of it. And it's exactly like the talk about QE and an M2 money supply, the bond market, central banks printing stocks, talking about we're going to unwind our balance sheet, we're going to normalize interest rates. That is just not going to happen. And now it's to the tune where federal spending is, $5 trillion a year instead of 2 or 3. This is the deficit. Even the Fed aren't buying these bonds. They're still a couple of trillion short for what they want to do. Now, next year, that might be 7, maybe the year after it's 10. And that's when people say, hold on, this is just completely and utterly out of control. People have been talking about the unfunded liabilities for a long time, this 150 trillion figure, but it's not the next earnings that's 3 months away for Apple. That's all these algorithms and fund managers care about, because they're getting filthy rich. They don't really care about building a business and things being fair or sustainable, that this is coming at them quicker and quicker every year. They've already made their millions of dollars, and they're going to go to their holiday home on their island or their yacht when the pitchforks come, and they're going to leave the government to clean up that mess, and the government are going to print as much as they need to keep people happy. It's a bit like the Fed. They'd rather have a stock market bubble than a crash. The government are going to want to give people free stuff rather than them have pitchforks, and that's when we might start to see inflation and all those things come together. So look, guys, that is my rant for this evening. I was hoping that we'd get a bit of a bull flag that would maybe break up here at the moment. Look, what a tremendous run on gold. Having a bit of a correction here now after hitting over 2,000. Silver, I mean, it is nuts to think that we did that video when silver was, $13, $12 when we made that tutorial. Man, oh man, and now it's, more than doubled. And even more crazy, is it XAG? Is that the Aussie dollar silver price? Yeah, this is silver priced in Aussie dollars. 42 it got up to the other day. XAU, AUD, Aussie dollar gold, nearly 2,900 within a whisker. So these prices that people would have told you, or they did tell me that I was crazy when I used to comment on hot copper threads about gold and crypto, before I got kicked off for talking about crypto too much. All right, so guys, let's have a look at a few of your questions. Really appreciate you guys all tuning in on a Saturday night. Thanks to everyone that smashed the like button. We're up to 200 likes, 500 watching. And finally, huge thank you to all you members. I mean, getting towards 3,000 is just astonishing. I remember thinking if I ever got to 100, I might be able to cut back my hours at work. And then, for those that don't know, every time we get more members and make more money, we hire more staff. So as I said, we're up to 17 on the books now. At the moment, we've got 13 full-time while we build the app, and then we've got part-timers and casuals that help out. But that it's all about the community, and it's always been about preparing for this next bull run for me. So we wanted to be able to handle, for those that don't know, we shut the doors last December 2017. We had 5,500 on the wait list, and we shut the group down at around 1,500 members because it was getting chaotic. But this time around, you guys have been so well behaved, respectful. We've laid out all the beginners introduction guides, all my units on how I value projects. We're doing the research for you. We've got all the rules. It is just working so well. So I'm just so thankful. I really do hope we all really make a killing together heading into this bull market. I think Bitcoin's going to surprise a lot of people, and I really do hope that we nail that, get the most of the move, and we're here together to see $100,000 Bitcoin in the next few years. All right, let's have a look at a few of these questions and comments. SAS Crypto says, fist bump, $3 US. Thanks, mate. That's a lot of money in Australia. That's what, $5 in Australia. I'm going to whip through all. I'll read the most recent ones and then I'll go back through. SAS, you woke up at 5 a.m. to watch. That's awesome. How much does the group cost? So it's 49 Aussie a month, 500 Aussie a year. So that's only about 300 US for you. But that is for current members. So prices will be going up when we launch the app. And the app does have more features. TrustSwap has subscriptions. Yeah, look, I might get Jeff on soon on Nuggets Grill and get him to ask some questions. A little bit sick. I've just got a blocked nose. It's so funny when I talk for an hour straight. You guys don't realize how hard it is to talk for an hour straight. Sometimes I get a dry throat, a bit of a blocked nose. and I am having a coffee. Finishing off my coffee. OMG Go, look, I think it does have a good future ahead after it came back from the dead. Getting tether would be a massive, massive win for OMG Go. The 5 OFAs, I'm not sure. The latest one might not be in Slack. We're getting rid of Slack soon. You've got to either get on the new portal or in the Facebook group. No, current members won't pay, but if you wait till after the new app comes out, you'll pay a higher fee. Yeah, all members are classed as legacy, but if you leave and then decide to come back in a month, then no, you will have to pay a higher amount. So it's rewarding loyalty, I guess. Stick to whatever you're comfortable with. There's no pressure to buy silver. There's no pressure to buy altcoins. If you're a beginner and you continually just buying some Bitcoin or Ethereum as well, playing it safe, you're going to outperform, I think, the stock market and a lot of other of your friends that are going to throw money at all these alts, and a lot of these alts are going to have a nasty pullback and they're going to get scared, and we see it time and time again. Well, guys, it's been an hour. I am going to wrap it up. PlayKey up 50% last 24 hours. I didn't think PlayKey was even trading on any exchanges still. There you go. Look, guys, it is the goal to get to 100,000. So we've got all those free resources over on our website. We've been adding a few more again this week. So anything that you want to know about, guys, if it's not here, add it to the requests down the bottom. We're taking requests, liquidity crisis, bond markets, recessions, QE, what's on my bookshelf. We are adding to this every day. That's why I've employed another full-time employee. I want to get this to 200 resources by the end of this year. I want it to be the one-stop shop for fundamentals, basics about trading, everything crypto, everything finance. I hope you guys really enjoy that and get value out of it as well. And if you do, consider joining the group and getting our premium research. So I'll wrap it up there, guys. You've been legends. Smash that like button. I'll talk to you tomorrow night when we do our weekly news wrap up. Cheers.